if any country in the world goes for this, we read the hazard circular last week. If any country goes for this, it's going to be an avalanche of other countries following suit. There are countries, there are people that I'm hearing from who are afraid. They believe that, as if the people in the United States present some insurmountable obstacle to developing or establishing mathematically perfected economy in their country. They are hoping that the United States does this first. But anyway, this person had presented the idea of mathematically perfected economy, and I have no control over these people, you understand. There's no money in this. It's a humanitarian effort, if you will. In any case, a few weeks after he claimed to have presented to China, I suddenly received a pile of documents, electronic documents from this fellow. And because I'm so busy, I didn't have time to look into them. And a couple of weeks later, he's, frantically emailing me and calling and Skyping. And in the process of his urging, without me even opening these documents, he notifies me that these are contracts he wants me to sign. He wants me to sign these contracts as soon as possible. And what do? He's presented mathematically perfected economy to these countries for a percentage of their GDP. That's right. So this ends our discussion. I don't even have to explain this to this guy. I mean, he's emailing me this, and I'm done. I'm done with this character. In no way is he hijacking 40 years of my life's work. He's publishing, books which are just, he's got some author he claims is a world great author, and this fellow is without even an outline for where he's going, is just copying and pasting work in a book that's going to be some manual for establishing mathematically perfected economy. Well, the manual exists on my pages, and it's a few paragraphs, and it exists in many forms. It exists in the synopsis. It exists in this, article, If I Were President, how I would end this collapse in minutes and accomplish a conversion to mathematically perfected economy in at most weeks. Which would refinance all our debt, counting all prior payments of interest instead toward principal, which itself would eliminate just exactly the right amount of debt, unjustified debt, that's been imposed upon us. Now, all these other solutions, do they have a math that accounts for this? Well, no, but that's not the point of this. So this person gets all upset with me because I'm not, calling him, and I or answering his calls, and quite frankly, I'm peeved beyond, reasonable restraint would express on a radio program. And so anyway, I just wanted to play, a message he left me on the phone the other day.
Mailbox 1. No new messages. All message played back.
Hello, Mike. I've been trying to reach you in regards to discussion further. I'm getting headway now, finally, in the press. I got into the Russian media press here. There are 1.2 million Russians. I'm actually going to have a bi-monthly little section there. And the other is I'm getting into working with the French, because it's an international country here. The other thing is I just wanted to touch base. If you're not pleased with myself and the methodology you have to do it because it's a different mentality than a Western mentality, let me know. It's no problem. I could always turn you into a footnote. I'd rather turn you into the main thing, but if I have to, I'll do what I have to. I just got to get Israel in with an economic program, either from you, Peter Schiff, or anybody else who Peter Schiff's willing to put something together for me. So phone and email where we should go from here. So I'm letting you know that you were first choice to put this on. But I really need to put this on, and please, no more bad language towards me, no more disrespect. I don't appreciate it whatsoever, especially with the amount of media and press I'm getting now, finally in Israel. And I can send you the articles, and you can see them, but unfortunately they're all in Hebrew. So, but you can see them in the pictures of myself and everything during the interview. So let it go from there, and let me know what you'd like to do. If I don't hear from you, I figure you're not interested. So that's fine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Monday, 9:10 a.m. End of final message.
It's no problem. I can always turn you into a footnote. It's no problem. I can always turn you into a footnote. It's no problem. I can always turn you into a footnote. It's no problem. I can always turn you into a footnote.
Right, he and Helen Hodgson Brown and Bill Stills and every other plagiarist. He can always turn me into a footnote. Well, not surprisingly, he didn't rest on his pledge that it's no problem if I didn't respond, he'd get the message. He hounded me the next day as well. So he calls and he insists that here's a guy who calls me fairly regularly. Was in practically every call he refers to me as himself as my greatest advocate. And here he is, of course, in just this little ditty. Basically exposing the fact that he has no commitment to principle. And so he calls me the next morning, and he's trying to actually strong-arm me into, he's trying to scare me that I need protection in Israel and all kinds of things like this, so that he can get me to sign these contracts to present mathematically perfected economy to foreign countries for 1% of their GDP. And so when I counter this, he yells and screams at me, and he tells me that that I don't understand. You have to make a lot of money to make this thing work, and I'm trying to tell him no. It's some principles that people have to follow. We don't have to nurse after this thing, forever. Here's the principles. You abide by the principles, and you're fine. And you want to experiment about how you're going to try and do that. That's your business, But you do it wrong, this is how you will pay. And the principles explain all this. Once someone has been, introduced to them in the right way, which is that in discussion of these things, we go and explore different directions as a device of teaching. But anyway, so he introduces this idea that, he throws this idea to twist my arm, that Peter Schiff has got an alternate solution that he's going to use. So he'll just peddle that for 1% of people's GDP or something, I suppose. So anyway, the thing is, I said, really? I said, so Peter Schiff has an alternate solution for inflation and deflation? And he says, oh, absolutely. And I says, okay, what is it? And he went on to talk about something completely different. He said, no. You didn't answer my question. What is it? The solution, the alternate solution for inflation and deflation. Went off another direction. I can play this entire discussion. I've got it recorded as well. So he goes, he beats around the bush and beats around the bush, and, finally I give him his due, and I hung up on him. I told him we're not talking to each other. He is not representing mathematically perfected economy. And last of all, is he going to charge a country 1% of its GDP to do so? Absolutely not. We go from one oppressor to one other Mickey Mouse artist who's, what the price is going to be, why we're doing that is ridiculous. It's not even his idea. What the hell gives him the idea that he should worm his way into the middle of this and take a profit out of it? This is how people are. And if you look at my plagiarists, you see this everywhere. You see all these authors of these books, posing proudly with their book and not even able to explain the cause of failure, which I published so long ago, that they're stealing from, and they can't even put it in their own words so that it comes across right and teaches the actual thing that you have to understand how we're going to get out of the problems that we have. Well, one of my long-term plagiarists is an outfit called NESARA, N-E-S-A-R-A. It stands for National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. Well, they surfaced in the early days of the Internet on the heels of my work. And at first they advocated, a reduction of interest rates to something like 4 or 5%, something like Steven Zarlinga was saying to do when he plagiarized me half a dozen years later. And, of course, this proves that they're wrong. They don't even understand the cause of failure. But like Ellen Hodge and Brown, these people have morphed their pretended solution, and they're, are they in this for just the money or what? Why take a movement that already exists and split off from it to actually imitate it? You see, people who do these things have a motive, which is not a good one, ever. And so I received an email the other day from my friend Larry Beecraft. People who know Larry, has interviewed me several times on his show. He's a constitutional attorney, good guy. And this email that Larry sent me, I was just filled in some blanks. Which were still there. And it tells us something, and rather than try and put it into my own words, I'll let the story tell itself here. So Larry sent me this email, which he had sent to another friend, and he says, "I received the following from a recipient of that last note. The NESARA myth put to rest. Most of our members by now have run across the fabulous claims made on behalf of a program called NESARA, which is short for the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. Supposedly, this is legislation that was quietly sneaked through Congress and which, any day now, will abolish the Federal Reserve System and pay off the national debt." Note that I've explained how the national debt gets paid off. And this is an imitation of each element. And there is much more. A mysterious internet personality, calling herself the Dove of Oneness, was the source of most of this information, and she assured her followers that the entire program was under the guidance and protection of a powerful and benign group called the White Knights. We have posted numerous updates on, somebody who's into something that's called the White Knights. Does this sound like somebody who comes up with a monetary solution to you, who's unraveled the nature of the currency? Or is it someone who says, oh, well, I'll claim to eliminate the federal debt as well? And they change from so many percent interest to 0% interest and imitate me in everything that they perceive, but only to the extent that a person who calls themselves Dove of Oneness and is associated with some benign group called the White Knights would do. You know, this is really quite ridiculous, but it's kind of heavy in another way too. We have posted numerous updates on this topic to our website.